Welcome to Legends in 20 Tech Sales Power Sessions, where we unpack the stories and strategies behind Asia's most inspiring tech leaders. Today, I'm joined by Suganthi Shivkumar, a true legend in enterprise technology sales and leadership. With over 30 years of experience, Suganthi has built and led high-performing teams across Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Hong Kong, Korea, Australia, Japan, and the Middle East, driving transformation at Click, Alteryx, Informatica, and Hyperion. She's not just a sales leader, but a change architect, coach, and mentor, guiding professionals through leadership transformation, behavioral change, and growth enablement across markets. Let's dive into a playbook where confidence, composure, and people-first leadership meet. All right, Suganthi, thank you for accepting my request, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Kai. Firstly, thank you for inviting me to this series. And I think, I'm not sure I'm befitting the title Legends, a dinosaur for sure. And I would love to be able to share my little experiences over the near 3 decades I've spent in the technology and software industry. So long as it benefits the younger generation and the aspiring leaders, I'm happy to share. Thank you.
Awesome. Speaking of legendary and 3 decades, I'm more interested to understand the evolution as a growth leader. From Hyperion to Alteryx to now recently LinkedIn, you have led across decades of tech revolution. What's changed most in the art of selling, and what fundamentals have stayed timeless?
I think that's an excellent question to start with, right? And the short answer would be everything has changed, right? Except the need to connect with the human and humans that one is selling to, right? So let's think about it. And why has all this change happened? Because in the past, you engaged with a client early on, and you had this huge journey to closure. So there was this long time frame where you could influence, you could persuade, you could present, you could make your connections and so forth. Today, that time frame has virtually shrunk because so much prep work, content, data, information, misinformation sometimes is available to a potential client looking for solutions that you position. So that time frame has shrunk to a very small window. And within that window, we need to sell. So it's no longer rocking up and saying, hey, I've got this new shiny toy, or look at my new mousetrap. It's almost like saying, I'm not selling you a new mousetrap, I'm selling you the absence of mice. So pitching product to pitching solution to pitching a solution that actually solves business challenges and real world business problems. That's changed. Just rocking up to do a demo versus displaying a data-driven approach to driving a value proposition. That has changed, right? And so today, you are almost always solving before you sell, or even earn the right to sell. So a lot of it has changed in that whole science of selling. When it comes to the art of selling, I think 3 fundamentals remain unchanged. They are the need to build trust, the need to be there where timing matters, and the need to tell a compelling story to persuade and influence your client in that shorter window that I talked about, so that they believe in you. And that time to build what I would call almost a trust quotient with your client. Trust quotient based on your dependability, your referenceability, your ability to understand the gravity of their problem, or to even educate them and enlighten them on the trends and what others are doing to stay ahead in the game. That trust ratio, almost like a credit rating for you as a sales professional, that is so important, and that hasn't changed. So the need to connect with other humans, because let's face it, softwares don't close the deal. It's humans who close the deal. So a lot has changed, but a few fundamentals certainly haven't.
Speaking of fundamentals, I actually read about one of your reflections in a recent blog. You spoke about confidence being the key differentiator between competence and excellence. How do you coach teams today to find and sustain that balance?
Another excellent perspective, and I would say, think of confidence as being in the center, right? And when we are in the center, that means I'm not bouncing off a wall, and neither am I hiding under a table. So I'm not bouncing off with energy, enthusiasm, passion, and a lot of content and just, chugging away. But neither am I so sluggish and lethargic. I stay in the center. I'm comfortable in my skin. And in that composure, I'm able to do all that I described earlier. Deliver a very compelling value proposition that is enough to influence and move my client. I align with the client's buying journey rather than what's my selling journey, what's my quarter, what's my quota. I am aligned with how the client buys, and I'm very centered about this, right? That's the whole. And a lot of people confuse competence for confidence. Now, think about it very simply. I may have made a presentation 10 times, 20 times to audiences across my markets, standing up in different platforms, addressing different cultures. And I've done it maybe 10 times, and I've done it in an exemplary fashion. And yet, today, when I got onto that same stage to make that same presentation, I fumbled. Does that sound familiar?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Haven't we all had that experience before?
I have, definitely.
Yeah. And I'm sure many of the people listening to this series would have had that experience every now and then. And think about it. It's not that I'm not competent. I've done this job for 30 years. Come on. And I've done this deck for like the last 20 times. I should be. So what's changed? It's really about something shook my balance in that instance. So that's really what we should aim, not just as salespeople, even as parents, even as teachers, even as friends or people in life, to be always in the center, because it is known that when you are centered and grounded, you're most at your best. And your best version of yourself will evolve by being in that position. So how do I do this in a professional setting? Well, it's very simple. Practice, practice, practice till you become it. Amy Cuddy says it, fake it till you make it. But I wouldn't go that far. I feel we need to be authentic. So practice, practice, practice till it becomes you. That's your DNA. That's your style. You don't know to do it any other way, right? And I think there are lots of things. Some people do power posing. They own the space. They own the stage. They anticipate the questions. They know how to make strong comebacks. They know how to recover should something not work. Sometimes technology doesn't work. And you shouldn't feel uncomfortable in that. It shouldn't drain your confidence in that moment. What fillers do I do when technology doesn't work, for instance, right? So these are some things that would help for us to stay in the center. Likewise, when we are with a client, the client could bring up different things that we didn't even anticipate. And I think those are excellent moments or micro opportunities for us to kind of take off our pair of glasses and wear a different pair and see it through a different perspective. A pair of yellow lenses, a pair of rose-tinted lenses. And you see things from a different perspective. So the agility that you display while being calm and composed actually delivers a very different outcome from just bouncing off the walls and trying to defend your position when you lose that centeredness.
So elegantly put. Stay centered, stay grounded. Yeah.
That's basically it.
All right. Moving away from being centered is now looking at building high performance teams across different cultures, right? You've managed diverse teams across 10 plus countries, Suganthi. What have you learned about leading with empathy and maintaining consistent performance across the different cultures?
Okay, very fascinating perspective that I'd like to share is that, firstly, as a sales leader, everyone thinks, or the majority of people would look at you to say, oh, you're a sales leader, you own this number, your job is to get the team across this line. Meet it, beat it, exceed it, but it's all that number. Your life and your world revolves around this nucleus, your number, right? And that's where I think everything starts to fall apart. Because as a sales leader, I would argue that my job is not just the numbers, it's actually a lot more. It's about building a common vision. It's about being able to clearly articulate to my team, hey, this is our goal. It could be a number, it could be a growth, it could be some marquee accounts, it could be where do I want to take my team along with me too? What's that journey look like? What's in it for each and every one in that team? That clarity. Because the human brain does not accept what others tell them. It accepts what they tell themselves. So what's in it for each and every person in the team needs to be very clear. So an articulation of the goal, an articulation of the journey, and a clear articulation of what's in it for every member of the team, what motivates them, what drives their commitment, what sort of competencies they need to build. How are you going to help them get across to there? And Einstein or leadership gurus say this beautifully, right? They say, you can't do the same thing and expect different results. So you definitely have to change the way you and your team perform in order to get to that new North Star. And that North Star is that aspirational North Star, which is very achievable if you take the team along in a very structured and programmatic way, right? So as a sales leader, you need to think about what is blocking my team from embracing this change. Change is very frightening because everyone thinks, hey, I'm comfortable where I am. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't come near me. I don't want to move out of this comfort zone. But a sales leader has to be able to walk that journey with every individual so that that individual reaches this other place, looks back and says, hey, actually, this feels more comfortable. My earlier comfort zone is not as comfortable. And they keep moving forward along that journey. So a big part of the job or role of a sales leader is to be able to give timely feedback and a balanced feedback. And I actually am not very inclined to use the word feedback. I use the word feed forward because why are you giving that review points? It's to help people to take that steps forward and then look back and say, hey, I've landed in a more comfortable place. So give them that balanced feed forward that helps them keep moving forward. Feedback could sound like a critique or a critical review of their past performance, which is not. So it's always about, it's not about what you say, but it's about how it lands on the recipient. So I think so much is upon the sales leader. And if you embrace all of this in the role, the numbers and the outcome and everything is going to naturally flow. And I think that's across cultures, that's across teams, that's across markets. This magic works. And a lot of time, people are fearful of this journey, of this change. And as a leader, you need to present the options. Fear, F-E-A-R. The choice is either face everything and rise or forget everything and run. Both are acronyms, of fear. And what are we going to do? We're not going to forget everything and run. We're really going to face everything and rise, right? So I think that's, I won't say a magic bullet, but that's an approach I've consistently applied to my teams. And whether it's an emerging market, a high growth market, a mature market, there's magic in this method. And it has worked for me time and again.
That's so elegantly put, Suganthi, right? Sustainable leadership is how I would define it in one word, right? Now, looking from sustainable leadership to scalable leadership, right? Your built and guided teams across new and mature markets we just discussed. What principles have helped you align leadership excellence with operational discipline across regions?
So I think leadership starts when not just me as the leader, but everyone in the team stops asking who's in charge, but hey, what needs to be done?
Do the right thing?
Yeah. I don't need a title to lead. I just need the opportunity to lead, to be able to move something from this point to this point and move the needle along and embrace the change and overcome the fear and then move myself to a new comfort zone, as I talked about earlier, look back and say, hey, that wasn't as comfortable. I'm actually in a much better comfort zone right now. So I think leadership, leading without title is one huge thing. The other principle that I've always embraced is with courage and humility, a leader should enjoy and watch and nurture your team members grow, right? And it's a joy in itself. So one should never be threatened that, oh, somebody else has grown so much, right? Each of us has our individual journeys. There's no comparatives, there's no competition. It's about facilitating someone else's journey so that they become the best versions of themselves, right? And this whole notion of helping people with the feed forward system and with integrity, trust, accountability to keep moving their comfort zones forward. I think these are major tenets that are non-negotiable as a leader for me.
Understand. Let's now talk about, corporate leadership to corporate coaching, right? It's a beautiful transition. You're being there, you have led teams, you have coached them to now looking at, even coaching them full time, right? Your balanced senior leadership roles with advisory, enablement, coaching engagements across Asia today. How do you see these experiences complementing each other? And what have you thought about leading and developing future-ready teams?
Okay. So I don't see them as disparate or different roles at all. I think every leader needs to be a coach and a mentor throughout that journey. And a greater the leader you are, the greater the coach and mentor you should evolve into, right? Because it's just like parenting or a teacher teaching a classroom. Your team is varied and many and diverse and anything but homogeneous. There's heterogeneity in all shapes and forms. And how do you, as a parent, for instance, you think you have 2 children, 3 children, I give them the same parenting style. The outcome should be the same? Surprise, surprise. It never is. Or your kids may grow up, or the cohorts may come up and say, I didn't ask for the same treatment. I'm special. There's only one of me. You should have coached me the way, or parented me, or taught me the way I needed to be taught to become the best version of myself. I think so. Being a sales leader and a coach has helped me bridge this need, right? Because it's helped me create a safe space, firstly. This is a very safe space, and it's a very personal conversation. It's with empathy, it's with the human aspects, it's with also good, solid business sense of how this person wants to navigate their journey. And it's a very personal choice. Some people love to be coached. Some people would say, don't even come close to me, right? But I think coaching is not about supplying the answers. It's about drawing out what is inside that person, what is driving that person, what is blocking that person, what motivates this person. Is this person committed? Is this person competent? What else do I need to provide? Is this person clear what his or her role is in this broader and bigger game, right? So I think coaching skills help every leader unpackage these things, not just for himself or herself, but for every member of the team. Because as a leader, I know that the strength of my team is based on the strength of my weakest link. And I can't afford to have weak links in my chain. And the larger the team, the more room there may be for these weak links. But I have to plug in every weak link to make sure that the strength of the collective chain is not compromised. So I also need to pivot my leadership style. So aspects like coaching help me embrace situational leadership. And this situational leadership is a Ken Blanchard concept that I really love because it teaches me that not everybody needs the same style of leadership from me on a task by task basis. So if it's task A and somebody has high competence but very little commitment, then I need to focus on how to build that commitment and motivation. I don't need to build the competence side. But there are cases where someone is so committed and so enthusiastic, but they lack the competence. Then I need to embrace a very different form of leadership. I might need to be more directing. I might need to be more coaching. I need to embrace different styles of being a situational leader with the same person as they move from task to task. And this makes me a better leader, and this makes them a better coachee. And that journey is going to be a beautiful journey because tough journeys lead to beautiful destinations. But in those tough journeys, if you have a strong coach and coachee equation, that journey gets brilliant. And you remember that journey for the rest of your life. So I think being a coach has helped me a lot on these fronts. It has helped me recognize the need to give balanced feed forwards. It has recognized the need for me to be a situational leader and not just a one-size-fits-all. It has recognized the need for me to play intermediary between corporate offices that may be based out of the US and Asia. Little things like amazing frameworks like MedPIC. They apply to Asia for sure, but they need to be tweaked. Right? We need to add elements or tweak elements so that they become more applicable. And that playing that role of that bridge, coaching the teams, but at the same time influencing the thought processes, of corporate, that balance, again, being centered, being, very confident of the position that will help the Asian teams and everything. I think this has helped me a great way.
All right. One key takeaway from there, Suganthi, was speaking about MedPIC, right? This is the first time I've heard, at an IC level, we all have customized versions of it in Asia. Different markets, we approach it very differently. From a leadership perspective, this is the first time I've heard a leader openly say that, hey, MedPIC does deserve modifications in Asia. From prior experience, would you like to highlight your observations, your need for those changes that would educate the audience here as well?
I'll pick one or two elements of MedPIC maybe to better explain what I mean. And I'll also pick one or two examples of what has happened in the past. So before we do the MedPIC piece, let me talk about a simple thing like compliance. Many moons ago, about 15 years ago, when compliance was quite an avoided word, I put up my hand bravely and said, yep, I will set off a series of compliances in my tough markets. And I took this Herculean task upon me. And of course, I had to make sure my team was with me. So, the clear articulation, what's in it for them, it's our right to do this, blah, blah, blah. But as I embarked on some of these, in certain of my markets, in no time I realized the word compliance, the word audit was just not accepted. You were thrown out of meeting rooms when you brought in this concept. But just by tweaking the word and saying, I'm just here to regularize your license usage. So I called it a license regularization exercise. The spirit was the same,
More positive.
but it was interpreted, as I told you, it's never about what you say, it's about how it lands. So by being culturally sensitive and bringing this nuanced terminologies, it got the work done, right? So instead of saying license audit, the template said license regularization. So everything had to change from a back-end perspective, legal, compliance team. But it was a very interesting exercise for me and my team. And the outcomes were favorable. The client felt less threatened, right? Same thing with MedPIC. If I take P, pain, the P that stands for pain, and if in Asia, when I talk to a client, oh, tell me more about your pain. What happens if you don't solve this pain? They feel very intimidated. They don't like the word pain. But if I change that P to priority, which serves my purpose, we're still talking about your priority must be your most painful things, right? And why is this your priority? If this became priority 5, what will be the effect? So I'm just using a different terminology. The term economic buyer, the model tends to assume that there's that one supreme economic buyer. In many Asian markets, that's not the case.
It's a committee.
It is a whole consensus-based trust circle that I need to build. So to simplistically say, I need to get to that supreme economic buyer may not be realistic, but instead building out that trust circle that I need so that this is economically viable and I know I'm speaking to the right set of people is another thing that I found very interesting, and it works. So little tweaks like this. Or I've also done as much enterprise deals as I've done mid-market or commercial. In the commercial world, if you thrust the entire MedPIC alphabet soup, it does tend to get overwhelming. So just pick a few. We've seen the bands of the world before. So it's like a little band, right? Use what works for you. Use elements of MedPIC that work for you and help you. Because what's the idea? So MedPIC is more an internal checklist, but then the conversations with the client are potentially a little more enlarged to include those little tweaked elements as well.
Yep.
But at the same time, you're able to fulfill and adhere to the MedPIC framework, right? So I think these are little examples that I'd like to highlight.
Thank you, Suganthi. That was insightful. Now, would you like to have a short break before we move into talking about your last 30 years of experience, the glorious moments, and then move into rapid fire?
Sure, sounds like a plan.